Hey girls, good morning. The next kind of factoring we're going to talk about is called binomial squares. Real simple to do, very similar to difference of squares, but slight difference, which I'll point out. What this means is, this is a trinomial. So a binomial square, this is a trinomial that produces, or that results in, if you like, that produces two identical binomials. Two identical binomials when factored. I'm just going to point out again, whenever you see a question, it's like this. You're going to try to take a common factor out. If you can't do that, you're going to move towards reverse FOIL. If there's only two terms in the expression, there's a good chance it could be a difference of squares. Then we can go on to a binomial square. BS. I know what you're thinking, so am I, but it's not that kind of BS. Jerks. Okay, let's take a look at an example. So we get something like x squared minus 4x plus 4. This is going to equal, there's our brackets. Square root here is going to be our x and x. So what we're going to need is our two terms. They got to multiply to positive 4 and add to a negative 4. So there is our two binomials that are identical. Exact same. Okay, so later on when you get into grade probably 11, you can certainly write it this way. And it's going to be important for you to understand that it can be written that way for quadratic equations and things like that are coming up. Okay. Factoring trinomials that have a coefficient. Remember, that's a number in front of a variable. That have a coefficient on the first term. Can be difficult to factor. We're going to start it with the easy kind, and then if we have time, I'll give you the grade 10 and 11 version of it. But anywho, let's start out with the easy business. However, if you recognize that the coefficient is a square, coefficient is a square, and that coefficient is a square, and that the constant is also a square. The constant is also a square, comma, the trinomial may be a binomial square. Binomial square, comma, which is easy. Which is easy to factor. Okay, so here's the steps. The steppies. Same as usual. Set up your brackets. That's it, man. Step 1, complètement. Number 2, you have to ignore the middle term. Just like everybody's been ignoring me for the last 2 months. Ignore the middle term of the trinomial. Ignore the middle term of the trinomial. 3, you're gonna put the square root of the first term, in the first, I'm saying first because that's part of our acronym FOIL, in the first slots of the brackets. First slots of the brackets. Comma, and the square root of the constant, in the last, oh crap, I wanted to make that pink. Again, that's part of FOIL, in the last slots. Okay, so if we have something like 25x squared plus 20x plus 4. Step number 1, we need to take the square root of 25. So that's going to be 5x. That 20x doesn't exist for right now. I need to take the square root of the positive 4, which is 2. So hopefully you're asking how we get the middle sign. I'm going to tell you on the next video, yo. It's pretty suspenseful.